Okay, so it's been a while since I've done a video on the NRL, and it's been a very long time since I've done a team video. Now, the most popular video in the NRL playlist is the Western Suburb Magpies disastrous seasons of 98 and 99. They were ridiculously bad. Shockingly bad. The West Tigers are a successor team to that Western Suburb Magpies team, with the dual venture club, the merger between the Balmain Tigers and the Western Suburb Magpies to form West Tigers in 2000. This is the club's first ever wooden spoon in 22 years. It took 22 seasons to finally get a wooden spoon at Leichhardt and Campbelltown, basically. They sacked Micheal Maguire after round 12. Their record after round 12 was 3 wins, 9 losses. Brett Kimmorley comes in as interim until a permanent coach can be found, which is ultimately Tim Sheen's, the Premiership winning coach from 2005, with Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah, players who played under him in that Premiership winning team, being his assistants, with the plan being that Benji Marshall will become head coach and Robbie Farah will become his assistant in a few seasons' time. They're not announced until further on into the season, but under Brett Kimmorley, interim coach, 1 win, 11 losses, things get worse. Now, Brett Kimmorley, in reserve grade, very good, bringing the youth players through, coaching the youth players, good development coach, brilliant player in his time. He's been thrown a hand grenade, basically. I feel a lot of sympathy for Brett Kimmorley. Pascoe, the CEO, has a lot of questions to answer. The recruitment at the club is a mess. The squad is not good enough. We know that. But Micheal Maguire, well, 2019. I haven't looked at the 2019 season, but I think they were 9th. They were 10th. Then they were 11th in 2020, 13th last year. So they have been declining for a period of time. They had a better win percentage in the COVID-shortened season of 2020, which we'll look at. But what is scary is you look at the results. They win 4 games all season, then you include the bye round. That means they end up with an overall of 10 points, which I believe is actually higher than the Newcastle Knights in one of their wooden spoon seasons. So we'll look at the Newcastle Knights 3 wooden spoons in a row in another video. That's going to be interesting to do as well. So they sacked Micheal Maguire round 12. Brett Kimmorley comes in. Now, they had a record club defeat, 72 points to 6 against the Sydney Roosters. Their last game against Canberra, they had a second worst ever half-time deficit. And obviously losing to the St George Illawarra Dragons confirmed they got the wooden spoon. The results. So, played 24, won 4, lost 20. The bye round means they get 10 points. Points for 352, points against 679, points differential 327, grand total of 10 points. Now, their points against, the points conceded is not actually the worst in the league. That is held by the New Zealand Warriors. We can look at their disastrous season as well, because I think they have regressed. So they had a better defence than the team above them, but they scored a lot less points than the team above them, hence the bad points differential. They weren't scoring enough. Basically, they conceded 300, double basically the points that they scored is a good way of looking at it, nearly double. So they averaged 28.3 points per game conceded. They concede nearly 30 points a game. And they score half as much of that in points per game in 14.6. So for every point they score, they concede 2. So if they kick a drop goal, the other team are kicking a 2-point drop goal. If they score a try, the opposition are scoring 2. So they're being outscored 2-1. You're not going to win games doing that. Now we look at their past 2 seasons. Last season they were 13th with 18 points, 8 wins, 16 losses, and a bye round 2 points. The 2020 season, which was reduced to 20 games, no bye rounds, that's 5 rounds less than the last 2 seasons. They finished 11th with 14 points, only 4 points less, 7 wins, 13 losses, because with the 18 points, you are including that bye round. Now, that's the COVID impact. So there's 4 less games played and no bye round. They had a better wins percentage in the 2020 season than 2021. So they were already on the slide. I could have gone round by round result, really, and it wouldn't have been pretty. It really wouldn't have been pretty. But the Sydney Roosters defeat, which was a record defeat for the club, I think it was the heaviest defeat for the club and the 5th worst in NRL history. I think we are including the Western Suburb Magpies in some of those batterings and the Newcastle Knights with 3 gold wooden spoons in a row. 5th worst in NRL history, worst for the club. I don't think Tim Sheens, Benji Marshall and Robbie Fowler can turn this round, personally. There's a lot of pressure on Tim Pascoe, the club CEO, a lot of pressure upon Pascoe, a lot of criticism being thrown at the board. It's not Brett Camorley's fault that he couldn't turn it around as interim and just avoid the wooden spoon. Micheal Maguire, he possibly should have gone after that review at the end of last year. I think he could have been treated better. It was clearly not working in the 2021 season. I think 2020, you could argue the COVID impact, but they had been stuck outside the finals. And you could see that was a downward trend a little bit. Yes, there's been injuries. Yes, you could argue some of the recruitment hasn't been great. Player retention, which is not necessarily a Micheal Maguire problem. Look at the players they have let go historically. Even before Micheal Maguire is installed as head coach, they made some really poor recruitment and roster decisions. And you could list off the players: Mitch Moses, Pappenhausen, Addo Carr. There are Tedesco, Aaron Woods, and then naming 5 captains to start the season. They got their recruitment, they got their squad balance wrong. Is that all on Micheal Maguire? Because some of those players I've listed left the club long before Micheal Maguire was installed as head coach. He had been there a while, and their performances hadn't been improving, which is very obvious. But the second worst defence for points conceded, worst points differential, and there was a clear separation between the teams above and the West Tigers. A mid-season coaching change did not benefit the team. I feel sorry for Brett Camorley, but quite frankly, this was a disastrous season. Now we can look at the really woeful Newcastle Knights in the next NRL video before we really get into the meat and grind of the finals series. Once we've got this weekend out of the way, we'll know which 2 teams are not making it through to the next round of the finals, and which 2 of the top 4 will have to play an extra game in order to get to the grand final. 2 big name teams are going home at the first hurdle. But that West Tigers season, absolute disaster. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.